Good evening on this 4th day of February. It has been a dark day for Kenya following the passing of its second president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. Tonight on Metropol Primetime News, we'll take a pause to reflect on the man who ruled Kenya for an interrupted 24 years from 1978 to 2002. This is Metropol TV, Kenya's 24-hour business channel. My name is Nina Shaban. Let's take a look at the headlines.
We will remember President Moi as a fierce crusader for peace within this sub-region.
President Moi was a very kind person. He used to sympathize with many, and particularly the ones who are not able.
A very good evening once again. My name is Nina Shaban and our sign language interpreter is Minnie Adoya. Kenya's second president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, is dead. Moi passed away at 5:20 a.m. this morning at the Nairobi hospital, surrounded by his family. And in a presidential proclamation, President Uhuru Kenyatta has directed that the nation observe a period of national mourning from today until the day of his funeral, saying the late president will be accorded a state funeral. The former head of state served as Kenya's second president for nearly a quarter of a century between 1978 and 2002.
Raisi kujaza sehemu waliokuwa wanachezea.
Kenya woke up to the news of the passing of the country's second president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. Moi passed away at the Nairobi hospital, where he had been receiving medical attention since late last year. President Uhuru Kenyatta officially announced the death of the former head of state, hailing him for his many years of steadfast public service. Moi served the country as a teacher, legislator, cabinet minister, vice president, and finally, as president in a career that spanned 6 decades. Speaking on behalf of the family, Moi's last-born son, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, said his father passed away peacefully. Following Moi's passing, President Kenyatta ordered a period of national mourning that will continue until the late president's funeral. The late President Moi shall be accorded a state funeral with all appropriate civilian and military honors. The national flag will be flown at half-mast at all government institutions both in Kenya and abroad until sunset on the day of Moi's burial. Rongai Member of Parliament Raymond Moi, who is also son to the late Daniel arap Moi, said that the former president will be buried at his Kabarok home. The burial date will, however, be subject to consultations between Moi's family and the government. Ingrid Nantege, Metropol TV.
Kenya's second president, Daniel arap Moi, goes down into the annals of Kenya's history as its longest-serving president. Moi's presidency was characterized by times of great turbulence and change in Kenya's political environment that shaped Kenya as an island of stability in a restive continent. Stephen Kimani takes a look at the life and times of the man who was fondly known as Nyayo.
Kenya's second president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, was born on 2nd September 1924 in Sacho, in present-day Baringo County. After undertaking his basic education, Moi trained to be a teacher at Tambach Teachers Training College. He thereafter worked as a teacher from 1946 until 1955, the year he joined politics. It was in that year that Moi was elected a member of the Legislative Council for Rift Valley. In 1957, Moi was re-elected member of the Legislative Council for Rift Valley. He thereafter became Minister of Education in the pre-independence transitional government of 1960 to 1961. As Kenya geared itself for independence, Moi joined hands with Ronald Ngala to form the Kenya African Democratic Union, KADU, in 1960 to challenge the Kenya African National Union, KANU. KADU was formed on the premise of creating a federal system of government known as Majimbo, while KANU was in favor of central government under the leadership of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. That quest was, however, defeated by a numerically stronger KANU, setting the stage for the adoption of a centrist government. When Kenya gained internal self-rule, or Madaraka, on 1st June 1963, Moi joined the first government as a Minister of Home Affairs, a portfolio he held even after his elevation to the position of Vice President in 1967. Moi, who was Kenya's third Vice President, holds the record of being Kenya's second longest-serving VP. But it is on 22nd August 1978 that Moi ascended to the presidency following the demise of Kenya's first president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta.
Naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Moi took over with a pledge to follow the footsteps of the country's founding leader, coining the clarion call, Nyayo, that became synonymous with his rule.
Katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
4 years into Moi's reign, his government was rocked by a military coup attempt that was instigated by rebel soldiers serving in the then Kenya Air Force. The coup took place against the backdrop of Kenya's transformation from a de facto single-party state to a de jure or single-party state by law in June 1982. Many political observers largely agree that this was probably one of the biggest turning points of Moi's presidency, as it will later usher in one of the most politically repressive periods in Kenya's history. Political opponents were turned into dissidents as Moi strengthened his grip on the country's affairs. And as political freedoms shrank, so did the performance of Kenya's economy, whose growth rate fell from highs of 7% in the late 1970s to an historic low of negative 0.2% in the year 2000. Inflation reached a record of 100% in August 1993, and the government's budget deficit was over 10% of Kenya's gross domestic product. The stagnation and subsequent deceleration of Kenya's economic performance came hot on the heels of Kenya's transition from a near state-controlled economy to a liberalized economy in the early 1990s. The formal economy gave way to the growth of the informal economy, and living standards began to decline even as Kenya opened up to the global economy. Kenya was also in the throes of painful economic reforms dubbed structural adjustment programs that were being effected under the guidance of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Those programs came at a heavy cost as government spending on economic and social services such as education, health, and agricultural extension services decreased. Former President Moi's administration was also being pressed by international lenders to undertake governance reforms as a condition to financial support. It was perhaps in a bid to show up waning support for his government both at home and abroad that the former president yielded to a growing push for political reforms by returning Kenya to a multi-party democracy in 1991.
Tuondoe ile section ya katiba ya Kenya ya 2A.
A move that set the stage for Kenya's first multi-party election in 1992. Moi will go on to win this election and that of 1997, albeit under a cloud of vote-rigging claims and the backdrop of tribal clashes in areas perceived to be opposition strongholds. In a bid to appease opposition, Moi opted to enter into a political pact with the then de facto opposition leader, the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, that will later transform into the absorption into the ruling party of the then National Development Party, led by Jaramogi's son, Raila Amolo Odinga. Moi's political survival skills will earn him the title of being the professor of politics, and that being of a giraffe who could see far into the future. But as he mended things on the political front, Moi also undertook further economic governance reforms in a bid to make amends with international lenders, starting with the establishment of an anti-graft watchdog body, the Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority, in 1997 to address concerns over rampant theft of public resources. Then followed the appointment of a team of 6 technocrats drawn from within his government and the private sector, a team that was christened the Dream Team, led by Dr. Richard Leakey as the head of civil service. All this would, however, not slow down the push for a new administration as the country headed towards the 2002 general election. Moi's choice of the then little-known Uhuru Kenyatta as a successor added even more impetus to the push for an end to the 51 rule of the then ruling party, KANU.
Kama vile mimi ningependelea wananchi kuongozwa ni Uhuru Kenyatta.
Uhuru, who is now Kenya's 4th president, lost his bid for Kenya's presidency to Moi's one-time vice president and opposition chief, Mwai Kibaki, marking the end of Moi's 24-year grip on Kenya's presidency.
Mwai Kibaki, naapa kwamba nitatenda kazi zangu za urais.
But even after stepping down from power, Moi's influence will continue to be felt on the political front. Indeed, Uhuru Kenyatta's election as president in 2013 was perhaps seen by many political observers as a vindication of his choice of successor 11 years after his exit from State House. Moi was also vocal in his opposition to the then proposed constitution in 2010, joining the ranks of those who voted no to the constitution that will later be promulgated on 27 August 2010. He also questioned the handling of the row over illegal settlements in the Mau forest, even as it emerged that he too was a beneficiary of land that was excised from the forest.
Hata mambo ya Mau, hapanaweza kuketi kukuona kwamba watu wataondoka kwa njia gani, polepole mahali gani watasongezwa, watasukumwa watu, mahali catchment ya mali maji, ati eviction. Eviction kuondoa mtu watu ni paka na panya.
But health concerns will, however, continue to plague him in his later years, culminating in his hospitalization in October 2019. Kenya's 2nd president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, has died at the age of 95 years.
It is a long way to the barrier, it is a long way to go.
Stephen Kimani, Metropol TV.
To the sweetest girl I know.
Well, he could even sing. Anyway, moving on swiftly. Leaders both local and beyond Kenya's borders have paid glowing tribute to the late 2nd president of Kenya, that's Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. President Uhuru Kenyatta has eulogized the late president as a leading figure in the struggle for Kenya's independence and an ardent pan-Africanist who, and I quote, made his nation and the continent immeasurably better, end of quote. Ndiro Ganga reports.
As the news of the death of the 2nd president of Kenya broke, many leaders came forward to give their tribute and share their reflections on the man who ruled Kenya for an uninterrupted 24 years. While announcing Moi's death, President Uhuru Kenyatta A political protege of Mzee Moi termed the second late president as a leading figure in the struggle for Kenya's independence, an ardent Pan-African, and a man who made his nation and his continent immeasurably better. He said, and I quote, "The late Mzee Moi's steady hand guided Kenya through the restoration of multipartyism and many other challenging periods, culminating in the peaceful transfer of power in December 2002, a then rare occurrence in Africa and one which set an example that has been emulated across the continent and beyond ever since," end of quote. The man who succeeded Moi as Kenya's third president, Mwai Kibaki, has also paid tribute to the late president for his statesmanship and skillfulness in the conduct of statecraft, both during the blissful and tumultuous moment that Kenya has traversed. In his statement, Kibaki said, and I quote, "With time, his mastery at thwarting crisis became legendary as his ability to assert state authority. That is largely how Kenya stabilized as a number of countries in the region and the continent suffered disruptions and long periods of civil unrest," end of quote. Deputy President William Ruto has eulogized Moi as his political mentor and a leader who sacrificed a lot to secure Kenya's stability.
Mzee Moi's life and service is an undeniable legacy of success against daunting odds. It is also a challenge to our generation to rise up to the great responsibility of serious nation building, to have the courage to face our challenges without blinking, and to use his fine example to take Kenya forward.
In a statement, ODM party leader, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, acknowledged that Moi inherited a polarized political landscape when he became president in 1978, but strove to hold the country together as he struggled to unite the people, often with mixed results. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has also praised Mzee Moi for putting the country before self, even when the political tide was against him in 2002 by willfully relinquishing power to Mwai Kibaki.
On retrospect, what we learn from this is that sometimes emotions can be very bad, because at that time, Kenyans were very unkind to him when he was going to hand over. But when you sit back and now reflect, he did the right thing. He defended the Constitution. He went there and handed over power. Had he not done that, what would have happened to Kenya?
Thank you.
So we must respect him for that position.
The leader of majority in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, remembered Moi as a leader who incorporated perceived minority groups into his administration.
Lakini wengi wetu tunamkumbuka ya kwamba alilete makabila zote katika serikali yake. And I can speak for the people of Northern Kenya. He was the first president to have involved and brought the pastoral community to the mainstream decision making in the running of government.
While Moi's era in power has been largely characterized by dictatorial and repressive, one of Moi's strongest political allies, former cabinet minister and Westlands constituency member of parliament Fred Gumo, has defended his leadership style.
But sometimes as a leader, you are forced to do certain things that you don't like to do. And let me tell you, to be a leader or a president, you must be respected and also be feared. Because if you are not feared, people will sit on you. So Moi had that combination. He was a good leader, he was respected, and he was not feared.
Younger leaders have also paid tribute to their former president who, in his years out of power, challenged them to act in the best interest of the people they represent.
We should always say the truth and not cheat the public. That's what he advised us the last time we sat with him. And I think that's a lesson for all of us. If we're going to reform this country, we must reform this country because we want to do the right thing, speak the truth, love one another, and preach cohesion. I think if we can preach cohesion and unity in Kenya, we will remember Moi for the things that he said those days.
Tanzania's President John Magufuli has also condoled President Kenyatta and Kenyans at large, saying Tanzanians will remember former President Moi for his steadfast leadership and effort to promote good relations between Kenya and Tanzania, as well as the revival of the East African community. The late President Moi will also be remembered by many for his passion for education that was manifested through the expansion of Kenya's educational sector, as well as his promotion of patriotism. Two trademarks of the Nyayo era that will be remembered for years to come. For Metropol TV, I'm Ondero Oganga.
Kiongozi tumikia wananchi vyema bila kujali misingi yao ya kisiasa.
All right, so Moi's presidency was a mixed bag on the economic front. While his administration paid keen interest to social sectors such as education, Kenya's economy experienced peaks and troughs that were blamed on bad policies and weak macroeconomic management. Let's take a look at some of the numbers that define Moi's legacy. At the start of his rule in 1978, life expectancy in Kenya stood at 56.8 years. By 2002, life expectancy had declined to 52.4 years. Today, life expectancy in Kenya is at 66 years. Moving on, Kenya's annual economic growth rate was just at 7% in 1978. By 2002, Kenya's annual economic growth rate stood at 2.9%. As at the third quarter of 2019, Kenya's economic growth rate stood at 5.1%. Per capita income growth also decelerated from 2.9% to about 0.2% in 2002. Inflation during Moi's era had its many highs and lows, peaking at nearly 29% in 1994 before declining to just under 2% in 2002. And as of January this year, inflation stood at 5.78%. Unemployment levels also rose during Moi's reign to 10% by 2002, and today unemployment levels in Kenya are at 9.3%. Kenya's external debt levels doubled under Moi's administration from about 300 billion shillings to 600 billion shillings. External debt in Kenya averaged at 939.31 billion shillings from 2000 until 2019, reaching an all-time high of 3.1 trillion shillings as at July 2019. Kenyans who lived through the 80s and the 90s will probably miss Moi the most. From Nyayo school milk to Nyayo buses, Moi will be remembered for virtually imprinting his rule in the daily lives of Kenyans. We hit the streets earlier to engage Kenyans on what they will remember the former president for.
Namjua kama kiongozi chupavu. Kiongozi alikuwa ameshikilia nchi kwa njia ya maana. Na viongozi wamekuja, hakuna kiongozi mwingine kama Daniel Moi. Amefanya kazi mzuri na tutamkumbuka sababu ni kiongozi wa maana kabisa. Mimi nasema Moi awekwe mahali pema mbinguni na tutamkumbuka maisha yake yote.
Alikuja na masomo ya bure na hasa tuliokuwa shuleni enzi zile tukanywa maziwa ya Nyayo.
Mzee Moi mimi namkumbuka vile alikuwa tough. Vile alikuwa tough. Hata ungeongea kitu kuhusu Moi mpaka unaangalia nyuma nani yako nyuma yako, isiende uzemekane wewe ndio umeongea maneno ya Moi.
Wakati wa Moi tukiwa shule, tukiwa watoto tulikuwa tunapata maziwa ya bure na uchumi ulikuwa mzuri wakati huo.
Honestly, I was not born yet, but from what I've heard, people say that life was better then because the rates of corruption were really low and people used to get like free milk. Moi came up with Nyayo, I think Nyayo Stadium, Nyayo wards, maziwa ya Nyayo.
I work in the health sector, so I remember him when he started the Nyayo wards, and that was great for Kenyans. There are several other things. Kuna ile maziwa ya Nyayo, there were the Nyayo buses, Nyayo stadiums, and of course Moi girls schools. There were many things that we could remember him for.
It's a sad thing, but you know, he did what he did, and he pushed Kenya forward and Africa in general.
Moi alikuwa anasaidia watu wengi, yani hadi mashamba, bado ikifika ni mashamba, yani anaokorea yani mayatima hivi, unaona. Lakini sisi tunamshukuru na tunasema pole sana kwa venye amededi.
Moi was a brilliant leader, took care of the country when the country was really in need of growth, and we really appreciate the fact that most of us grew under his leadership. I think Kenya had a lot of peace, and that's the foundation that he's left us.
If all our leaders, the politicians of this country, can emulate his peace and love and unity, then this country is headed for the right direction. For now, we are mourning everyone, all the tribes, all the 47 counties, we are mourning, because he was a great man and a leader, a caring father. He didn't want people to fight. He would love children, would love mamas.
Moi left a very good legacy in that he was a dedicated man, very disciplined, because he used to do his work perfectly, and he usually had a loving heart for the country Kenya, from the way he usually do whatever he was to do.
Hand in hand with that, Moi was a man known for making memorable statements that will remain etched in the memories of Kenyans who lived through his 24-year rule. Even in his retirement, Moi remained active in Kenya's politics, making bold comments and sometimes controversial statements on some of the most contentious issues of the day. Here's a sample of some of the most memorable public statements that the late president made during and after his presidency that included singing a song.
Imarisha chama cha KANU, lazima tuangalie kwamba tunasafisha. Na kusafisha sio kusema kusafisha na kuna fraud ndani yake. Ili tuone hawa walio katika siasa, wale walio watumishi wa serikali, tuondoe ile section ya katiba ya Kenya ya 2A.
When I talk about politics, people think I'm racialist. I'm not racialist at all. I'm an African, believing in nationhood. I told fellows in Western Province the other day that we all share sunshine. All of us, everybody. Every living creature shares sunshine, but we don't share homes. And I said, in Kenya, businessmen, everybody be free. Foreigners, do business. You have unlimited opportunities, but not political leadership.
Nguruwe hujikanga na mafuta yake. Na Afrika itakwisha. Tulikuwa na bill ya kuleta Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority kwa bill. Ijapokuwa kuna mambo fulani ambayo mimi mwenyewe singetaka kukubali, lakini kwa sababu ya shida ya wananchi nikatupa kando principles hizo nilizokuwa nashikilia kwa manufaa ya shida ya wananchi. Power iko kwa wananchi, na sisi tu ni wadhamini yao, na ndio nataka kuambia wananchi wetu wanaotafuta democracy, tafadhali muwe na principle ya kuamini yale mnayoamini. Haiwezekani kiongozi kuruka hapa, kesho anaruka hapa, kesho anaruka hapa. Iwe unaamini kwamba naingia chama cha KANU kwa sababu gani? Anasema haya kwa sababu
nitaondoka kwa siasa ya motomoto, mimi kwa raia mwema. Lakini wale wanaozingatia kuongoza, msiweke Kenya chini, msiweke msingi wa siasa zenu kwa chuki. Yuko mtu ametukana mimi, namsamehe. Na kama yuko mtu ambaye nimesema chochote ambaye kimeumiza roho yake, unisamehe. Nimestaafu na sikustaafu kwa kufungwa mdomo. Mtu anatoka nje au viongozi wanaotoka nje na kuja kusema kwa Rift Valley wache wafanye hivi, wache wafanye namna hii. Hakuna wanaume na viongozi katika Rift Valley. Ati eviction kuondoa mtu, watu ni paka na panya. It is a long way to the barricade, it is a long way to go. It is a long way to the barricade, to the sweetest girl I know.
And may Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi rest in peace. That brings us to the end of our bulletin this evening. My name is Nina Shaban. Our sign language interpreter is Vinny Adoya. From the whole Metropol TV fraternity, we do wish you a lovely night.